Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I want to take a second, talk about the Ben Simmons situation because obviously it was mentioned that he was supposed to be playing in Game 4. And now that Game 4 is approaching, he's been ruled out. This is not a video about Game 4. I think I will make one of those later on today. So, it's just kind of an opinion about this specific part of the conversation. So, if you follow me, you know we talked about Ben Simmons throughout the entire process of this. Him leaving Philadelphia, him initially having the issues in the playoffs. We've followed this, and my opinion has always lent itself to Ben Simmons' side of things because I didn't think that all of the angles people need to be looking at in regards to the Ben Simmons situation is being illustrated by the media for whatever set of reasons. As usual, they're only going to tell you the narrative they want you to focus on, and they're going to only bring up certain points that contradict their narrative once in a blue moon in passing, as if you're not supposed to focus on those points. But those points exist. Here's the reality as I see it. Ben Simmons has been showing that he's had mental health issues long before he told people he had mental health issues. Why? Because he's a basketball player who is afraid to shoot the three-point shot. Not afraid as in I'm concerned I'm going to miss and mess up my percentages. Not concerned as in I'm not that great of a shooter. It's probably going to take possessions away from my team. No. The man has a phobia that even when he's open, even though he practices the shot in practice, even though it's a situation where he needs to shoot the shot and it makes sense for him to shoot the shot, he has a gift for the game of basketball because he has the ability to see the floor in ways that most don't. He passes the rock and surveys the floor like a Chris Paul, like a Steve Nash, Magic Johnson, those super passers with like the special God-given ability to get the ball to others in ways that others can't even fathom. Nikola Jokic, LeBron. Yeah, Ben has that gift. So what does that tell me? That tells me that he knows when he needs to shoot the ball for the betterment of the game itself. He knows that if he shoots the ball, it opens up spacing for him to do what it is that he does. He knows this. He knows he needs to be a threat for his team to win. He hears the chatter. He couldn't bring himself to shoot. That right there tells me there was something wrong with his overriding, in terms of overriding himself to do what needs to be done. Yeah, that part of his brain, it's awry. You can see that without him opening his mouth saying anything about his mental health issues. In other words, if he were to tell us that he didn't have mental health issues, I would believe he were lying. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how I see it. So the fact that he came out and told people he had mental health issues, to me, was a brave thing. Because I think it was hard enough for him to display that he had mental health issues. Telling us had to be even harder. Because he was displaying it in his reluctance to shoot. Irrational fear of letting the ball fly from his hands. Something that he makes millions of dollars to do. Okay? Then, when it all came to a head in the playoffs, when his anxiety or whatever it is reached its worst, and he passed that rock underneath the basket when he should have dunked it, aka overpassed. Same thing that shooters do when they don't pass the ball to wide open players and instead shoot over 3 or 4 players. It's the exact same thing, just in the opposite end of it. But nobody looks at it that way because, for whatever reason. But hey, overpassing was to be vilified in that situation. I understand that he should have dunked the ball. He knows that. He went through the process of having to deal with that in real time. And if you have mental health issues to whatever degree, it's going to affect how you handle that situation. So maybe he didn't take accountability. Maybe he didn't say, oh man, I messed up. Maybe that's part of the problem in his head, that maybe he can't face that properly, which is why he can't overcome it. I don't know. I'm speculating, but the point is the problem is visible. It's visible. It's not hearsay. I see it. My own eyes. You're afraid to shoot. So, once I know that, everything that comes after that has that notion attached to it. The media, those who talk about this on a daily basis, they want me to forget that part. See, it's fun to talk about how he's afraid to shoot when it benefits the narrative of talking about how inadequate of a player that he is. When we start talking about him, talking about himself in regards to having mental health issues, for some reason I'm supposed to forget that the man's afraid to shoot. I have a hard time with that. I know that American public may not necessarily, because a lot of people listen to these conversations in passing. They don't follow basketball like that. They don't care that much. They just want to hear something that entertains them. If it's true, great. If it's not, cool. They don't want to think themselves. They want to hear what you got to say and form their opinion from what it is that you gave them. That's cool. I was raised the same way. I think the difference is, though, at this point, I'm looking for them to lie to me. I'm looking to be manipulated, or not to be manipulated, but looking to uncover those manipulation tactics that otherwise get overlooked by us in passing, as they give us the narratives that they hand us. And as I'm looking for these, as I'm holding my fork and my fine tooth comb, looking for these little lice, also known as these lies, I look at the Ben Simmons situation, I look at Kyrie Irving situation, and I see some inconsistencies, some very, very serious formulas, like I just said, where they give us a little bit of something but don't tell us the whole thing, or give us a little bit but then beat us over the head with the contradiction that fits their narrative. It's a lot of that going on with both of those players. Now, both of them on the same team, both of them are easy targets because they give you a lot. They give you a lot. They feed the media about as well as anybody. Ben Simmons, I think the organization was part of the problem with that. Moving on from Philadelphia after the trade, once he got to Brooklyn, they wanted to, of course, make the trade as it should have been, which is them winning the trade by having him and all the other stuff that came with it. If they gave away James Harden and he's not able to play, it doesn't look like they won the trade in the short term, and everybody's so short-minded. But the reality is, managing Ben Simmons for the Brooklyn Nets needed to be handled with care, and he did not, for many reasons, including both basketball and non-basketball reasons. He had no business coming into this situation with his mindset and his skill set, asked to do what it is that they're asking him to do, which is save the season for two other guys who have their own way of doing things. Like, this was a bad situation to bring him back into if you're to assume his mental health issues are real. Now, a lot of people want to assume his mental health issues are real. Why? Because they have selective thinking and are omitting everything that I said in the first 7 minutes of this video. So now they're talking about, I hear people talking about, oh, he's over there in the mix trying to act like he wants to play for the Brooklyn Nets, but really he just wants to collect the check. Well, let's look at it like this. If I'm going to believe that, then that means I'm supposed to admit the idea that he just gave away millions and millions of dollars to keep from having to go into a situation where he were to play basketball with the Philadelphia 76ers. He let go of millions of dollars while everybody was scrutinizing him for doing that. He was willing to give back money so that he can get out of a toxic, triggering situation. Right? His mental health was so severe at that point in regards to that triggering thing that he needed to get out of there at the detriment of generational freaking wealth. But I'm supposed to believe that he doesn't have a mental problem. All right, fine. You don't see anything wrong with him. You see him being defiant. You see him sticking his chest out. You see him dressing a certain way, even though he's a millionaire. Everybody dresses however they want to dress as a millionaire. I guess they want him to walk in here with a yellow shirt on like me or something. I don't know. But they breaking him down. They're saying, oh, he's showing us practice footage. He's shooting, but he doesn't want to play. No, look, this is what happened. The same thing that happened to the Lakers in regards to realizing that their situation was now futile and switching their focus to not thinking about winning now. That's what the Nets have done here. Ben Simmons not playing probably, and I say this because I'm not there, but more than likely has nothing to do with Ben Simmons. They realize that they can't win this series. They realize bringing him back is going to make it so that they look even worse because of his offensive limitations, right? And the last time we saw him, he was literally having a mental health moment right in front of us on a basketball floor, and you're supposed to rush him back out there into the same environment, a playoff environment, the same environment that he last had his traumatic moment in. I mean, I just realized that they were hinting at him coming back because they were hoping that they would win game 2. I mean, if they were to win game 2, I think we see him in game 4. Right? If they win game 2, then it was like, okay, we have that. We're keeping our playoffs going. Now we're bringing him back for a reason. We bring him along slowly, maybe play him 15 minutes in game 4, 20 minutes in game 5. It ain't going to be no game 5. Ain't going to be no game 6. So you bringing him back, you need him to play 40 minutes. You need him to defend Jason Tatum. You know he can't physically do that. Oh, and there's some other truth that I guess the media doesn't want us to remember. And that truth is that he has a back injury that is backed by medical professionals who have told us that the back injury is a real actual thing. Even Stephen A. Smith has told us this on multiple occasions, that he had to shut his mouth because the medical professionals attached to the Brooklyn Nets have confirmed an actual back injury. I know it don't fit the narrative because you want him to be somebody who's not crazy trying to steal money even though he wants to get back money. Somebody who's not crazy even though he's afraid to shoot the basketball. You want him to be somebody who cares so much about money and cares so much about screwing over owners, even though he gave back the money to the owners so that he didn't have to play to save his own mental health. However he perceives it. That's what I see. That ain't what I'm listening to. The chatter's telling me to ignore that. The chatter's telling me to ignore all of this and listen to people who are telling me this kid is not holding himself accountable, that he's completely and utterly fine, that he's money hungry, and that he ultimately does not want to play basketball for the Brooklyn Nets, even though he forced his way to the Brooklyn Nets and has been screaming that he wants to play for the Brooklyn Nets since he got there. Circumstances make it so it makes sense to sit him. If I were the head of the Brooklyn Nets, the only thing I would advise the Brooklyn Nets to do is sit him. And yet I'm supposed to be mad at the Brooklyn Nets for sitting him? No. Nope, they don't. That's not part of the narrative. Let's switch that. No, they want us to be mad at Ben Simmons for sitting himself, even though he doesn't run himself. He is an employee of an organization. And I'd imagine he's doing what they're telling him to do by not playing in a game for which they have no business playing such an important piece that has never played for them before, that has an awkward foot on the basketball floor, who happens to have a bad back and maybe a bad brain. All of this doesn't fit the narrative. The only thing you're supposed to focus on, is what he looks like and the results of what happened because of his mental health concerns and his attitude as it pertains to kind of having one foot in and one foot out with the Brooklyn Nets, even though it seems like the Brooklyn Nets have had one foot in and one foot out in regards to playing him, which is based on the circumstances they're facing as I speak in circles. So, the man gave his money back. He's shown mental health concerns. He's shown he wants to play. He's following what it is that makes sense for the organization by not playing in a game where they otherwise can't basically win. And he's on for 3 years, I think it is. So playing him right now and he busts his back means he'll be out for another season, right? Let's say something goes wrong. He busts his back up, he busts his head up, whatever it is. If he goes out there and just have a mental breakdown and decides he don't want to play for another year, if something like that were to occur, that's 2 years off of that contract that they paid for no reason. And they don't play him tonight. They go into the sunset for the summertime, bring back all the teammates necessary to make him his best self, give him another off season of therapy and physical therapy and physical training and shooting the basketball and healing, for which time always does. That gives them a whole nother 4 months to work on him getting to a point where he's actually ready for the trials at hand, for the defensive task at hand, which is going to be, literally, if he stays on this roster as currently constructed, the most physically imposing defensive assignments of his career. While having a bad back. And as I said about other situations, the difficulty turned up all the way high because it happens to be the freaking playoffs. Bringing him into a system that he's never played in as an awkward fit that does not shoot. And has a bad back. And a bad brain. For which we're supposed to forget because the narrative doesn't fit. You get the point. Anyway, I had to turn on my camera as I always do because I'm not going to sit back quietly and let these people bash somebody who says they have mental health issues, who I see has mental health issues, who is trying their very best to keep it together. They're trying to break the man. They're hoping he does something to himself so they can talk about that. And we're going to offset that on this camera because I understand that a lot of what's going on behind the scenes with Ben Simmons probably has to do with agents, contracts, under the table deals, and bullcrap that ain't got nothing to do with the player. And they will maneuver his narrative to fit wherever they want him to be or wherever they want the agency or whatever the war is, the Cold War behind the scenes. It's probably some bullcrap like that going on with this player. Why we keep seeing them bash him and Kyrie and all this different stuff that goes on. It's because they can't control these dudes, if you really want to know the truth, regardless of why. Whether these are legitimate reasons or reasons that have to do with stuff that may not be all that relevant to our understanding based on these narratives. Something is going on behind the scenes. It's disingenuous, and I can feel it. I don't know to what degree, but I can feel it. I'm not saying that Ben Simmons doesn't have to hold himself accountable for all the things that may or may not have gone wrong. Even if you have mental health issues, there still has to be a point where you step up and say, for what it is I'm trying to accomplish, I'm going to have to take on some pain. It's no different than going into the gym, lifting up some weights and being happy that you got your gains. At the end of the day, you're not going to get those gains unless you sit there and take some of that damn pain. And that goes for everybody who has a mental health issue in this world. You're going to have to sit in the red for a little bit in order to get what you need in this world. It's just your plight. You got a problem, whatever it is, has to be overcome. And the people around you may or may not understand you, may or not even believe you have a problem. That's part of the curse. But what you cannot do is be a person like myself who does have mental health issues and sit there and let these other people who don't know nothing about what it is he could or could not be going through talk crazy about what he's going through or is not going through or what have you. I'm not going to do that. I would never rule out the fact that he could be capped. I would never rule that out. Ben Simmons could be capped. Here's the problem. I'm not blind. So if he's capped, that means I can't see. Because one thing he's shown me, he's afraid to shoot. Irrationally. That's a mental health problem. So, I know I've explained this in this camera before. I know you guys have heard this spiel to some degree before if you followed me for a year. But it's always important to remind everybody that the media has their own agenda as it pertains to this particular player. Because they're going to tell you things about him that they want you to forget. And they're going to beat you over the head with the stuff that they want you to know. And a lot of that stuff that they want you to know will be explained by some of the stuff that they've already told you. But they want you to forget those things. And a lot of people, for some reason, have selective thinking as it pertains to certain subjects. I personally think, my own personal opinion, I think it has a lot to do with Ben Simmons' appearance. I truly do. Light-skinned dude, great-looking dude, whatever the case. A lot of money. Unapologetic. They hate that. If Ben Simmons looked like somebody else, you know what I'm saying, who they didn't deem as somebody that they can't accept this from, they wouldn't pay as much attention to him, and he would be irrelevant. I've seen him do that with other players. I remember this dude, I don't remember his name, to be honest with you. Maybe it comes to me, maybe it won't. But it was a dude who had mental health issues, played for the Rockets. They drafted this dude. He refused to play because he didn't want to fly. And they killed him for not wanting to fly. Oh, they kicked him out the league. They called him all kinds of stuff. The boy had real mental health issues. And this was at a time where we didn't have mental health issue awareness. It was still very, very fine to laugh at a guy who said, yo, I'm terrified to fly. And even if it's to the detriment of my situation here, I need to adhere to that, because if I get on that flight, it's going to be curtains. And they just blasted him, and then they kicked him out the league, and you never heard from him again. No accommodation for his mental health issues, no concern for his well-being, not even a follow-up to see if the dude's cool years later. I ain't heard nothing from him since, and the only thing he had really wrong with him is that he needed accommodation from his corporation to help him with his medical issue. They dogged that man, they painted him out to be the worst guy in the world, and they kicked him to the curb to be wherever he is in this world right now. And he could really play. All he needed was somebody to help him get on a train and a bus so he can get to every game he needs to go to, except for Toronto. That was too much for the NBA. Why? Because they weren't feeling his unapologetic nature and approach to handling his mental health concerns, even though that probably is part of the mental health issue. If a person's not holding accountability, if a person's overly focused on showing you that they're greater than they are, overcompensated for something, if someone's overly and ridiculously cocky and they're unapologetic in their mistakes and not holding themselves accountable, guess what? That is a reflection of their mental health issues. But the world don't want to look at it that way, because we love looking at people and saying they're defiant, oh, they're unapologetic, oh, they're so damn cocky, oh, they're so mean, this, that, and the third. Yeah, because they're a reflection of the stuff that's come their way, and they are an imprint of all of the trauma that they've received, and now that's their their defensive mechanism against the hate that comes their way, or however they perceive it. They just need healing. And you're making it worse by slamming a nail in their heads for not being able to handle their mental health concerns in a way that you can palate. But see, that level of crazy isn't as crazy as the guy throwing doo-doo at you. But you're not going to hold him accountable for not having it all together, because you look at him as he's crazy. So a person has to be a certain level of crazy in order for you to accept it in this world. which is why I use my voice the way I do. You gotta stay even keel. If crazy is crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. Or the level of crazy, the level of different. Nah, it's just crazy, yo. So if a guy says, yo, I can't get on a plane, and you know he's 6'5", 6'10", could probably beat up everybody in front of him, guess what? It's in his head. And he's probably going to implode and end up hurting everybody if you put him on that damn plane. But if you get him on a train, make sure he gets to the game, he'll probably give you 30 points and 5 assists. But you were more so hell-bent on not accommodating him and making him look like he's defying the great you, which is also something you should probably get some help for. Those who are on high but still act real small, like nobody can defy them or say no to them without them having to retaliate in some massive way. Yeah, you're overcompensating for something. You too have mental health issues. I digress. The point is, everybody's dealing with something to some degree. And when there's severe levels of that, and a lot of people who are in denial, who don't want to face their mental health, have a lot of things to say about those people who are facing their mental health or displaying their weakness, whatever it is. There needs to be people like myself who step up and offset the bullcrap. So that's what I'm going to do. BDF 44. I'm going to come at y'all with all the other stuff for the NBA throughout the day. But I wanted to get up this morning, send some good energy to Ben Simmons and some bad energy to those who are continuing to omit already revealed information about his situation. He's already told us who he is. He's already shown us what he's going through. Now, the best thing for anyone and everyone to do is allow time and his desire to heal to bring him to the result that he's going to live with. Because this is about him and himself. If he's running from the basketball court, he's going to have to feel that pain in order to become who it is that he wants to be just again. So if he's running, he knows that. He needs to fix that. And it's going to be a process that he's already working on in his head. So if he's still too cocky or you don't like how he's dressing and all that, guess what? He still has a long way to go. And he ain't ready to ball. Period. Back or not. He ain't ready to ball. Do something about it. Oh, y'all got something to say about, oh, he's the worst to trade him. You got a problem with how he plays? Trade him. You have a problem with how he operates? Trade him. You feel me? Like, that's all it is. Everybody want to talk. But I feel this way about Kyrie. I feel this way about everybody. Look, if you don't like how I operate, replace me. Don't sit up here and complain about it all day. Don't sit up here and, oh, he's such a bad guy because he doesn't want to work. No, he's a sick guy. That's why he's not able to work. I get it, and I'm not understanding why others aren't. BDF 44. Thank y'all for watching.